right, guys, number 3 video, and maybe the last of the day. We'll see. So the trachea being lined with this, or held open basically by this C-shaped cartilage, the bronchi also being held open by that, keeps that airway open so it doesn't collapse between breaths, okay? It's lined with this ciliated mucosa. If you look at a microscopic image of this wall, you'll see that these cilia are there and they are constantly beating in the direction opposite incoming air. So what these end up doing is pushing things like dust and debris and other things outward instead of pulling them into the lungs. And so we end up coughing or sneezing, things like that. Just getting those invaders out from the respiratory passageways. And that's what the ciliated mucosa are there for. So that's really, really cool. Here we can take a look and see the ciliated mucosa lining this lumen, this basically the cavity in this tube. We've seen that term lumen before. These are the cilia in the respiratory passages, really beautiful cells. All right, let's talk about the division of the trachea here, where we divide into the two main bronchi, right and left. And this is where we go into the actual lung tissue. So we see the right bronchus right here being wider, shorter, and straighter than the left. And so, because of this, usually when kids inhale a penny or a marble or something, or even just a piece of food, a lot of times you're going to go look for it here in this right bronchus because it tends to, just by gravity's effect, make its way here more easily than taking a left turn and going into the left bronchus. Okay. Excuse me, sorry. So this is a really cool picture because we can see all these different structures from the blood vessels, the heart. We can see the lungs themselves. And here I love this view because we can see the different serous membranes that are lining and surrounding the lungs. So here we see the visceral pleura. I hope the pleura is something you haven't forgotten. So when we talked about the serous membranes, those double membranes, that surround these vital organs in the body, remember we had the visceral pleura that hugs the lung, hugs the organ, is the visceral membrane. Then lining the wall of the cavity is the parietal pleura. So these are the double membranes that come always together, and in between them, remember they had a cavity full of fluid. So here it's called the pleural cavity because these are surrounding the lungs. And I hope you remember that the pleural cavity is going to be filled with fluid. Remember, serous fluid that's going to enable the lungs to expand and contract with every respiration. Okay, so I hope that isn't new information for you. And we looked at this bronchoscopy in the video. So here's just another way. We can put a bronchoscope in the mouth or through the nasal cavity, either way, feeding it down through the trachea into the bronchi, into these tiny bronchioles. And so they can take biopsies. They can do a lot of cool examination using a bronchoscopy. Okay. I know I'm skipping a lot in your Cornell notes, but guys, hopefully with this video and the book, you can fill those out well. Okay. This is an endotracheal intubation. So I hope you can see it passing through the oral cavity, going through the larynx, moving into it through that glottis and going into the trachea so that you can breathe for a patient who is not breathing. Okay. So we can see here that you have to be able to see into that trachea through the glottis. All right. So the patient's head's going to have to be tilted back to give you a good view as you intubate. All right. So hopefully that answers some good questions from the first set of Cornell notes, guys. Let me know how I can help you, okay?